All right. How are you guys?
We're good.
We're doing
we
great.
have been on a whirlwind of travel.
Yes, that's every place I go, I see you.
We feel the same way. I know.
That means you're on the same schedule.
Yeah.
God, I hope not.
Well, a couple weekends ago, we were in South Carolina at the Southeast Wildlife exhibition, and that was fun. That was something we'd never been to before, so that was fun to check that out.
I don't even know about that one. See?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a lot of sporting. You enjoyed all.
Yeah, there was more sporting art, but kind of a variety of everything. And,
Yes.
a lot of wildlife artists. And,
There was a lot of landscape and things too.
yeah, but
So
they have the dog jumping trials and the dog herding trials.
Oh, I
and
love that
That
stuff.
was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah,
that.
no, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, just so people know, we have Amy and Andy Krane, and you guys own Art of the West magazine.
yes.
And you bought that maybe 3 years ago?
It was September 2019.
Even more.
Yeah.
Well, now it's about almost. Yeah.
Right before COVID.
Yeah, I remember. Alan Durr was like, yes.
Yes, so we got it at the right time.
Oh, yes. And so, it's interesting. I don't really know if I had seen Alan going to as many of these shows and things like that, but when you guys came onto the scene, I mean, you really were all in and are all in. I mean, I can probably name every place that I've seen you, whether it was the Autry last week or the booth or Indian Market or, you just name it, Briscoe. I mean, you guys go to all of them.
We're really trying to learn
Well,
as much as we can.
Well, and trying to see as much art as we can because the first year and a half, shows were just shut down.
Yes.
So we're looking online, but it's always different when you see it in person. Get to meet the artists, it means a lot more to us at least.
Yeah, of course.
Make that connection with the artist and gallery owners and museum directors. And so we've been spending a lot of time the last few years trying to make up for lost time.
Yes, I see it. And so when you do that, it also allows you, I'm assuming, to see new artists and go, who's this person? And maybe even take chances or see how your magazine may metamorphose into something else. I'm assuming, right? It feels like it is metamorphosing into a little different direction, which is a good thing in my opinion.
Right. Well, and we realize that we need to appeal to the younger collector as well. And so I think we've always been very, very traditional, and I think we're trying to get into some of that a little bit edgier art and have a good mix.
Yeah, like you had William Haskell on the cover. Now that was something very different for you guys, right?
It was.
And did you guys get feedback, positive and negative on that?
I heard that he was getting good feedback on it. Now, directly to us, I don't think we heard a lot.
Yes.
Over the years, there's certain ones that stand out, and we get a lot of feedback on it. And
Like what?
Thomas Blackshear.
Yeah, Thomas Blackshear, and some of the they loved it. It was a Crow Indian holding a crow, and that was our second edition on our own.
Yes,
and a lot of responses were finally something besides a cowboy on the cover.
No, I agree with that. Honestly,
just because we were trying to,
and I love cowboys.
Right.
And we're trying to show a variety, and we're not giving up the old roots by any means, but we're adding the new. And we've added columns in the back, kind of more special interest things. And, now we're doing newsletters and things that, just weren't being done
and
before.
e-blast too, right?
E-blasts and So we're trying to catch up with the times. And, Alan was 78, I think, at the time that he sold the business. And Tom was late 60s. So, they traveled probably a lot early on, but kind of slowed down in the later years.
Yeah, sure, I get it. How come I'm doing the opposite?
We are.
We're doing a lot of traveling. And, we'll have maybe 6 days at home in the last 3 weeks. So,
wow.
And we're here in Arizona for 10 days.
Yes, and that's part of that. I'm sure you probably went to Legacy's show, right?
We did.
Yeah, and you got to see our Glendine show today.
Yes, it looks like it went well.
Oh yeah,
yes,
it is Glenn after all.
Right,
so
right.
He always does well.
He does. He's such a professional.
Right.
And have you guys had a Native American artist on the cover yet?
Pretty sure we have, but I know on the guidebook, Orland Joe was on that.
We had Orland Joe on there.
Yeah.
He was on the guidebook. I'm just trying to think back.
Yes.
I know we featured several. I just don't remember if they.
Oh,
were
I'm
covered.
sure. Yeah, I'm just, and I'm sure that's not something that you maybe just go, oh, we need to do this, or that. But there's so many great native artists out there now.
Right.
And when you talk of art of the West, I'm assuming that that component of it is very important as well.
Oh, absolutely. We
Absolutely.
always, we have our 6 features, and we always want to have a Native American. We always want to have cowboy, sculpture, landscape. We're trying to balance all of that out, and then we are trying to also make sure we're diverse in the people we're choosing,
Right.
and then whether it's traditional or edgy or it's a big process.
Yes, and who decides that? How do you decide that? You're the publisher, right?
Well, ultimately it ends with me. If we're at a stalemate, I have to make the decision usually. But we kind of gather as a group. We take our creative director, our salesperson.
And your son's involved too, right?
Yeah, he's doing marketing, graphic design now, and doing some of the ads, and handling all the email blasts and the newsletter. And he's got a pretty good eye. He's got some art history background, and Jenny did a lot of art, and so we get together and we decide who's going to be the magazine. Then we look at the images, and we get 10 to 12 images for a standard feature, and we have to whittle that down to 6 to 8, depending on how big they are and how they're going to lay out. So,
can people submit for artists submit to go, I want you to look at my work for the magazine?
Yes, we look.
We look. It's not really an application process, but we love it when people say, "Hey, just wanted to send you some of my work, and this is going to be in this show." And we always like to see the artwork in person if we can.
Right.
That's why we travel so much.
Yeah.
Just trying to get out, and we
And
stop
I know
and
you
go.
do it.
Yeah.
Can testify to
we
that.
have picked some that we haven't necessarily
Right.
seen in person, but we've looked, and they've won awards, or they're in some galleries that we really respect, or they're signature members of such an OPA, or something like that. We really look to make sure that they have the credentials.
Yeah, because it reflects upon your magazine what you do, and the culture of what you want to do, I assume, right?
Yeah, and occasionally we'll show a new and emerging artist that we think
I think you should. I think
is
it's
doing
important.
really good work, but that's usually one out of the 6, and then we do the studio, which is the 7th feature. But
So what are the features that
well,
you have each time?
well, there's 6 full features. There's 6 pages, and then we do the studio, where we show someone's studio, but also some of their artwork. So they get the ability to present artwork along with an interesting looking studio.
Right.
And others are more interesting than others. It doesn't always matter, but there's always a story there of how they ended up there and how they ended up in that space and what they've done to it. And some are very extravagant, others are more bare bones, and that's where they work. So
Yeah. Some of them are very much that way.
right,
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
Because artists don't always, make a lot of money. So they're struggling often.
Right.
So-
And some of them I just don't think, they just are. We were at Howard Post's house yesterday afternoon.
Nice.
He's got a very simple studio,
Yes.
but it works for him.
Yeah.
It's what works for him. And it doesn't have anything to do with money, I'm sure. It's just the way he wants to have it.
Yeah, he wants it clean, and he's got, of course, that magnificent view of the Catalina Mountain for
that's
inspiration. So.
Yes. Yep.
Yep, I'd be out there painting all the time.
And also, I think when you get to that level, you're such a professional. I mean, you're going to a job in a way every day, and you just want it to be, you want to be comfortable, right? Even Ed Mal's studio, very clean and everything. And the whole thing was a studio, but the area that he painted in was, just a single room basically with one good, window coming in. He painted the same place every time, and it's wasn't extravagant, but it was definitely Ed.
Yep.
So, and that to me, it would be one of the joys of being in your business is you get to go into these intimate, settings and really feel what it is to paint and to be part of that person's life. I'm sure when you go there, you feel almost like an honor in a way.
Oh, absolutely. It's a thrill. And
It is. When we get invited in, we just love it. And that, to me, that's the most fun of what we do. There's most of it's fun, but just being one-on-one with the artist and being able to talk to them. Because at a show, they're busy.
Yeah.
They're busy talking to a lot of
They
collectors.
want to talk to you guys too.
Oh, we always stop by.
You're an important component into their world.
But you can get much more in depth
Yes.
when you're one-on-one.
That's
or,
right.
you're having lunch or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and you can talk about a lot of different things and really get to know them. Which
I'm
is
sure more than one occasion you left with a painting underneath or sculpture.
a couple of times.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
have.
Yep.
Yeah, how's your collection coming
It's
along
coming
in the last 4
along a
years?
little. We're running out of wall space, but one time that was kind of funny. We were in Santa Fe for the Indian market, and we were just walking down the street, and Andy looked, and there was a parking lot that we were just walking by, and that's got to be Howard
Or,
or
Albert.
Albert Handel.
Yeah.
And because he's got his look, he's
Yes, he does.
absolutely got his look.
Yep, he had his red suspenders and his
Yeah.
cap on. And
Yes.
so we stopped and he said, "You have to come over. You have to come over to the studio."
Yeah, that sounds like Albert.
Yeah, so we went over the next day and spent some time with him. And
Yeah, nice.
And
ended
came
up-
out with a just a very small painting
He's a good
of
salesperson.
a tiny casita, which was really fun because we had stayed in a tiny casita,
Yeah.
and it was our first time in Santa
Yeah,
Fe.
and that's the beauty
it
of
meant
art,
something.
right? Yes, it means something. You have an emotional connection to it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that painting means a lot to you, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And which changes the way you view Albert, too. I mean, in a way, you're like, okay, this is a person that has connected to me through his art, in this case. Yeah. No, I saw you at Indian Market. We were both all running around.
Yes.
Yeah. It
Yep.
was a busy
That was a
week.
busy time.
And
Yes.
so, how do you, if you want to share, and you may not want to, but how do you determine the cover of a magazine like yours?
well, that's a process as well. We usually feature someone that's in the magazine.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So we're not taking just any artist and
Right.
putting it on the cover.
Yeah. And it is a business, too.
It is, and we're trying to get something that's the most impactful
Yes.
and really stands out from a newsstand standpoint. Because, a newsstand, they only see this top.
Right.
And if it's all one color, it can get lost. If it's a little more vibrant colors, that can make a difference. But we want it to stand out as something very interesting and unique.
Or on
And-
somebody's coffee table. You
Right.
know that you're going to go, oh, what's
look
that?
at that. Yeah.
Yes.
Draw you in.
Really catch your attention.
Yes.
And we've had subscribers. We just had another one this week that she saw our magazine at some business in Minneapolis and wanted to know how to subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
But you wanted to catch that attention
Right.
as you walk by and go, oh, what's that? And
Are there any artists that have really, this one really worked well? You see a bump in your numbers or something?
yeah, well, Thomas Blackshear's,
Was,
that
yeah.
that one stood out.
Yeah, there's
and
4 of them behind you, by the way, on my wall.
yes, but just that one just fit perfect. I mean, we always try not to crop too much too. So it has to fit the cover.
Yes.
It can't be a long landscape and then
Yeah.
take it down to just a little image, unless we're doing the fold out. But
I feel like we got a lot of requests for William Haskell. After we featured him
Yes.
and had him on the cover, we got a lot of phone calls ordering just even that specific magazine.
Yes.
yes,
It was
single
very
issue.
impactful. That was a very strong cover. I gave a lot of pieces out to a lot of people
Okay, good.
from that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. It was. I mean, I represent him too as well.
Right.
But and so you take the artists that are in the magazine for that month, and then you look at all the artwork that they've submitted, and then make a decision. Okay, this is the one that really seems to pop.
Yes.
Whatever. I'm sure it comes down. It's probably pretty easy to get it narrowed down to like 3 paintings, and then it's tough.
Right. Exactly.
Yep, and we have a proof printer in the office, and we proof print the whole magazine before it goes to print.
Yes.
Checking color, looking for weird spacing, but we'll print probably 8 or 10 covers often, and put them up on a 12-foot wide
Interesting.
whiteboard.
Oh wow.
And you stand back and you look at it, and you kind of go, that one really stands out, and so does that one. And then we start taking them off the board as we get close, and
Right.
and then we got to narrow it to one.
Do you ever take pictures of that whiteboard? You should.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
should. You're right.
Because these are, little bits of history, and even the artist might go, "Oh yeah, I'm there."
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, that was being considered.
Well,
Yeah.
And last couple, one we're working on now, and the one we did before, we had the fold-out cover.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
gatefold,
a different type of thing because you're going to see half of the painting.
Yes.
And then when you open it up, you see the rest, and so that's been kind of interesting to figure that out. And
The left half has to be interesting enough
Yes.
that it is pleasing, but then
They open it
there's
up.
hopefully a little surprise inside.
Does that cost? That has to cost more money to
It does.
do
It
that,
does.
right? I would think.
it does, but then the good news is we can oftentimes sell a 3-page ad
I see.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And so, and the last, which one had that? That just-
Just this last one.
This last one that
Okay.
just came out. So
Yes.
March, April.
I wonder if I knew enough to open it up.
It was Jessica Bryant is a watercolorist that was on the front.
Yep. And then May, June, we'll have another one.
Yes.
Pre to West will oftentimes take that 3-page spread.
And you do it by month, right? It's every 2 months.
It's every
Correct.
2 months.
Every 2 months
Yep.
that you have it. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Every 2 months.
So let me get to the heart of how in the world you became the owners of, one of the longest standing art magazines of the West. That's not where you come from. You both, I know, Amy, you were a teacher.
Yep.
And so I'd just like to hear the history. Maybe, Andy, you can just give me a little bit of background. You're both from Minnesota.
Yeah.
I born and raised. Andy's
Yep.
been around.
I kind of lived in the Midwest, but went to high school in Minnesota.
Okay, so that's why her accent's a little stronger.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So we met in college. We both went to Drake University in Iowa. And I was 2 years older. So I took a job in Kansas City and then got transferred to Indianapolis. And then after we got married, we moved back to Minneapolis 3 years later, roughly. And so we've been there ever since. But
And where did you grow up?
but I was born in Des Moines. And then we lived 3 years in Omaha and then moved to Minneapolis.
Okay, so you're a Midwest
Yeah,
boy.
but my folks then moved on to Colorado. And
What did they do? What were your parents?
Dad was a banker.
Uh-huh.
Mom stayed at home.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was a banking executive, and he went out to Colorado to run a chain of banks out there, and then retired. And
Did you ever have art in your home when you were growing up?
yeah, Mom and Dad had some, especially in the Colorado home. They had bought in some or purchased Western pieces, some sculpture, and then they also decorated the Arizona house with some of those pieces. And so they weren't huge collectors, but they enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and so I kind of grew up with that.
I see.
Well, we have a couple of, extra cherished. We have a Vero Goodnight sculpture, right? It's Vero Good. I always get Glenna Goodacre and Vero Goodnight. For some reason, I always mix them up. But
It's
anyway,
easy enough.
Yeah,
to do.
there's real good name.
and then we have a James Boren painting,
They bought in
watercolor.
Colorado.
So those are a couple that we inherited from them that we are just so thrilled to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when you're growing up, what degree where did you go to college?
I went to Drake University
And
as
what
well.
did you
get
your degree in?
It was marketing.
Uh-huh.
And then I took my first job as a insurance underwriter
Uh-huh.
and did that for 9 years, and then went into the sales side of it at an independent agency.
For insurance, right?
Yes. Yep. For insurance, and we sold all lines and ended up growing it into a large agency, which then got sold to a bank. And so I stuck around for about 3 years after that, and I just couldn't do it anymore.
Right.
It just wasn't the same place. And
Yes.
so I retired. I retired from insurance at 54.
Got it. So you spent a life doing first marketing, then sales of insurance, right? And I'm sure you actually probably dealt with art insurance at some point, didn't you?
Yep. Fine arts and the homeowners and actually shipping fine arts. I had some clients that were artists and had to ship it, and we had to insure it while
Yes.
it was out in museums and in transit. And
Yes.
So.
And what was that process as being involved in that? Was that an easy component of the insurance business or just the opposite?
That was a little different. Fortunately, what I loved about it was talking to people, much like what we're doing now, getting to know them, understanding their business, because I had to insure it. So I had to understand what the process was and
what it was, right?
Right, where the risks might be for them.
Right.
So,
and where were the risks mainly?
Oh, it depends on the business. You
Yeah.
know, if you're a manufacturer, it's different than a contractor, and it's different than an artist.
Yes. Would you deal with art galleries too?
I didn't have any art galleries, but I had some artists, that had to ship pieces. And it was really a variety of, med tech, all kinds of things. So you really had to dig in and understand their business.
And did you have to pay out on occasion?
Yeah, we have, fortunately, knock on wood, just a few losses that were my clients. But but as an agency as a whole, we had 150 employees and probably 30 salespeople. Yeah. And, you'd have, and we had clients all across the country. Yeah. It wasn't just Minnesota. Yes. We were kind of a national broker, and, you get the hurricane coming in, and a lot of clients get affected by that.
Though I would think some of those are natural disasters, so they're not covered, right?
Unless
they have hurricanes.
It depends if you had the flood insurance, then the question is, okay, what was when, what was flood? So, So
insurance, such a great business.
oh yes, well I mean I enjoyed it just because of the people aspect. That's the part I really enjoyed, and taking care of my clients. That was the enjoyable part of the business. But then I retired, and Amy was still working, and most of my friends are still working, so you can only play so much golf by yourself. Right. And started looking at businesses for sale.
Yeah, because you're a young man,
right.
Really.
Yeah, I wasn't ready to hang it up yet.
You never intended to retire forever.
No, I played a lot of golf the first few months, but then it's like, okay, this isn't as fun as I thought it would be.
Did you get your handicap down?
A little bit, that year it did. So then Tom and Ellen were looking to retire and found that business for sale. I probably looked at 12, 15 different businesses and would always, after getting numbers and going through it, always looked at it and said, is that what I want to be doing for the next 10 years?
Yeah, basically the rest of your life.
Right, yeah.
Right? I mean, that's the rest of your creative life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And did you ever consider going, I like, or maybe once you bought this business, it seems like it would be a natural segue to put art insurance associated with your business that you have now. It seems just like it would be because you understand that business and all that. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like there would be.
It was a thought.
Yeah.
We just haven't gone that direction.
Yeah.
We've reached out to people though. With you had Jen Meyer do that. Insurance broker we've had some articles from the insurance standpoint.
Right. Just how to insure shipments and those types of things.
I think those should be at least put in on a regular basis. You're an expert in that field, right? You, as far as insurance goes, it's a big component for art galleries, artists. We have things that happen.
Right.
I could see that really being something that you could do that no other, magazine like yours can do. Maybe a little byline by you.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea.
We may incorporate that.
Yeah.
I like that idea, Mark.
Yeah, no, I could easily see it. I would read the magazine for sure to read that, because again, you have world-class expertise, and now the other rest of the story, which is the artist and all that. I mean, some of my questions would be, if I were you and I'm talking to the artist, is also find out their needs just to understand what problems they've had and all that, and maybe incorporate even, this happened to such and such. Right. And they tell their story, and maybe it's a good time, it turns out well, but sometimes they don't turn out so well.
Right.
I've had those both ends of the spectrum, and have been kind of shocked about some of the ways that business has run with art, as if you have a total loss of a piece of painting, whatever that might be, that means you destroy the painting.
Right.
So not fix it, but destroy it.
Right.
That seems antithetical to any kind of ethics, but that's the way that works.
Right.
So as you know.
Yeah. As soon as you put in for the claim, the insurance company owns it, and if they choose to
destroy it,
they can do that.
Yeah, that happened on one thing, and I said, no, I will not accept the claim. I will pay for that. Pay me less. I'm not destroying art.
Right.
That doesn't go with me.
Yeah.
So, but I understand it.
Sure. Yeah.
I do.
It's just the nature of the insurance contract.
Right. But see, that's something that you can balance that, and do it in a way that few others could. So I hope you do that. But again,
good thought.
We'll give it some thought.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure people throw thoughts at you all the time. You should do this.
We like learning, and same thing with, we like it when people say, "Have you ever thought about this artist? Hey, have you ever thought about?"
Yes.
We love ideas because we're new to this.
Well, that's the beauty for you, is that you're not stuck in a lane. You can make your own lane because you have the willingness to go and learn and see. That's why you go to all these things, and you're there not just to sell, but you're really trying to absorb, what it is that your culture is, what your business is, right? This is not a game for you. This is like a serious, thing that you want to give back to, Western art. And,
right.
Otherwise you wouldn't have, given up your golf match and say, we're going to fly every weekend to go here, there, and everywhere else.
Right.
Which has hurt my handicap, by the way.
And you give prizes all the time, too, because we see this. Just so I've seen it, you're giving out awards and, money and pages and things like that, which is not insignificant either.
Right.
So, which I appreciate.
Just trying to give back to back to the industry.
Yep.
And
support.
you had asked about growing up with art, and Amy's parents were probably more collectors.
Yeah, we're getting to her next. She doesn't escape.
She doesn't get off easy.
And so let's find out about the Minnesotan.
I was the baby of 5 kids, and my mom loved to build houses. So I, growing up, probably lived in 5 different houses that she built, or they built together. Mom was, they really did it as a team, but Mom was the one that wanted to do it. And so I learned a lot about architecture and, just how a house comes together and gets its flavor and its warmth. And then they were collectors, and they had homes in Naples, Florida, and also in Snowmass, Colorado. I think they had 3 homes in Snowmass, and that's where more of the Western art was. And then at one point, I'm trying to think how in their 60s, they found a house there on a ranch, and they had some horses. I loved the way my parents did things. They took on skiing at 50 and
Wow.
ranching at 60. Not ranching, but learning how to ride horses. So they had a couple horses that just stayed there at that ranch. They didn't have to take care of them. The people at the ranch took care of them, but they got to, go on cattle drives and different things.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that house became really more ranchy. And then they decided they didn't want to have all these houses in different places. So they bought a house in Minnesota that was on a ranch and just made their life there and had 8 to 12 horses there, I think. And, so we learned to appreciate that the horses, and we all learned how to ride horses. They'd have people come. A woman would come every Saturday, and the grandkids would go, and we would go, and we'd all get to learn how to ride horses. And they had great property that we could ride around, and it was really fun. And beautiful architecture and wonderful art. So when we would travel with my parents, we were always going to art galleries, and we'd go to over to the Ritz-Carlton, to the big show that they were having at the Ritz-Carlton in Naples or whatever. And then Andy and I both really liked art, and so we were always going in galleries as well. And that's where we find ourselves. We tend to go to the art shows that are around. Right. Those are the things we look forward to doing on the weekends. So we've always been around it. But we really didn't start collecting till we bought the magazine. We really didn't have the means, until probably after you sold the company.
That's not unusual that people start their art collecting in their 50s and 60s even, because that's when they're through with their family business, and now they're looking for something else, and maybe that itch has always been there, that creative itch to either make art or to understand and buy art. And I love to see it when somebody gets hit by that bug, because not just from a financial thing, but because all of a sudden now they're part of the community, right? And you can see it when it happens. I have a young person like that right now, who's probably 45, and right there, and he's just all in. He's never done anything with art, and now he's all in, and I love it. He's really wanting to learn, and he's buying and all this kind of stuff. So now, when you're growing up, were you making art at all as a child? Was that of interest? What did you see your life kind of being?
I loved my art classes, and I remember having a little set. It felt like a professional set of. I think it was just watercolors, but it had a little tin thing that I could mix colors, and I loved doing that. I don't have the talent. Maybe if I went to some workshops and stuff like that, I could do it. But right now, I just don't have the background. So no, I loved doing it with my preschoolers. Yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that. But no, I would not call myself an artist. But I have thought about taking some classes and learning more.
Yeah, you should.
I would enjoy it. I know it's just finding time.
Yeah, and so when you were going to college, you wanted to go into education.
Yep, I had an elementary degree. Education degree.
Yes.
Yep.
And that was Drake?
That was at Drake as well. Yep. Yes. And so when I graduated, Andy was in Indianapolis. And so that first year I was a substitute teacher. And that was fine. Not the easiest thing to do. And then the next year we kind of knew we were trying to get back to Minneapolis. So I ended up just getting a retail job, but I also was doing some tutoring, and I was teaching at a after school program. So I was in that field, but not doing it full time. And then when we moved back to Minneapolis, we knew we wanted to have children, and I knew I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So I continued with just that retail job, and then had 3 children, and ended up bringing kids into our house too, and took care of kids in our home besides our own. And then I remember when our middle daughter, Jenny, was in preschool, I was in the classroom volunteering, and her teacher, who ended up being my director and is still a good friend, said, "You should be doing this. You should be teaching this." And I'm like, I couldn't imagine teaching preschool because I had preschoolers and I didn't want to be around that all the time. But once our William, who's our baby, went off to kindergarten, I thought there's nothing I'd rather do than have those little hands to hold and that wonder and that joy and all of that. So I taught for 15 years and I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And then it just got to the point where I wasn't enjoying it as much. I didn't have the patience, and I wanted to be with my parents and take care of my parents. So I decided it was time. And I wanted to help Andy. I wanted to be more involved with Art of the West. So I decided it was time.
When did you join? Did you join the business for the Art of the West directly once it was purchased?
I did. I was absolutely part of picking the art in that whole process, and traveling with Andy. And then once I retired, then now I'm in there more doing administrative and coordinating our agendas and coordinating our production calendar and trying to organize mine and Andy's travel. Lisa also travels for us, but she kind of does her own. So I've been a lot busier since, and I enjoy it. I enjoy being there. If I have time to be there, I enjoy it.
So each of you have your own roles. You know, maybe your big picture and you're keeping everything controlled and done right. That's kind of
making sure we stay on task and on track. And
we have a set production schedule. So Amy's appreciatively kind of keeping us on track. This is the week we're supposed to be here.
That's so needed. Man, that is like,
otherwise you get behind. And
everything. If you don't have an Amy, you're toast.
You're late getting the printer.
I can tell you that for a fact.
And
I've got an Amy, so I understand.
And I like that. I love that organization, and so it's been fun.
Yes, and so it seems like immediately when you guys came onto the scene, you were going and doing all these things. Were you doing it even through COVID, or did you just have to kind of just go, okay?
The best we could.
Well, the best we could. A lot of things just shut down. So it all became virtual, but we were always online watching the shows, looking at the artwork. We took a lot of that time to update systems. Tom and Alan's system worked great for them. But we put in new operating systems, new subscription software, new office management systems, rebuilt the website.
The website's nice.
Because we needed to upgrade. And we just took that time because we couldn't travel to shows. So we spent our time and effort there so that when we could travel, we had the time to do it.
I'm trying to think when we finally got back, because I remember the Autry was the last show we went to. And you were supposed to go to Great Falls, and that got canceled.
That was February, and
I remember
March
it all
got shut
quite
down.
well.
I'm sure you do, and I'm just trying to remember when we finally could get back. What was the first show we went to? And I'm not remembering right now.
I remember mine. It was the booth.
Was it?
Yeah.
Next year.
So maybe ours was Briscoe.
Yeah, it might have been. So
about that time of
year.
It
was about the time I got tired of COVID. I said,
I'm done.
I gotta go.
I did. I said, I'm done, actually.
I know how you felt because we were the same way.
It was like, it's just, I'm going to go and live. And I told my wife, I'm going to this. I'm probably coming back with COVID, but I am going to go enjoy it and just do it. I didn't come back with COVID. I was surprised. But, you just have to learn how to deal with that stuff. And as a physician, there's a point where, as a physician, I remember being around people who are very ill and with communicable diseases and stuff. And that's part of your job, right? You sign up for that. You got to take the risks that go with it. So, I was fine with the risks as much as I could be. And I just said, nope, that's it. I'm going and I'm going to go to all
We were the same way. It's like, we got to go.
So, and I understand people who don't and, have medical issues and need to be very careful. I get that for sure. But there is a point where you do go, okay. And I remember like trying to do podcasts too, right in here. And do you take off the mask? Yes, we're taking off the mask.
Yes. We'll do 6 feet apart.
Well, we just, you'd have to test really and just say, okay, I don't want to get anybody ill for sure. Or, it happens. Right. So what's the vision now for, if you can share, with the magazine going forward? You've been in business. How long has the magazine been in business, by the way?
36 years total.
Almost a 40-year period. Right. And you've had it since 2000.
Yeah, maybe it's 37.
37. And you've had it since 2019, September of 2019. Yeah. So do you have a vision that says this is kind of where we're headed in the next 5 years? Either of you?
We're working on that right now. So we've got some ideas in our head, but we haven't, pinpointed it.
Well, but part of it was to expand to the newsletters and the.
That was our first vision.
Right. The emails, and those are easy to knock off in shorter milestones. I don't know that we'll be looking for another title, but we're trying to find ways to branch out and stay within the industry.
Yes.
We've started consulting with some artists a little bit. They're trying to emerge and not sure how to get going. Yeah. Just to consult with them a little bit.
Or some that are emerging, but they just, our thought is that they just don't have time to do their website, or they haven't established their brand, or they're just kind of help them get their name out there.
Sounds like a magazine to me. Emerging artists.
Yep.
Right. To get those individuals that need that. Exposure.
As long as we can get the advertisers for it.
Yeah, well, that's the hard part, right? I mean, and in your mix of advertising, I would think auction houses are probably high up in the level who are paying for a lot of it, right?
No, but we've been working on that. We're
working more artists, or is it?
It's mostly artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some gallery, especially if they have a major show coming up and they want to get it in, and some of the museum shows are, have been good partners with us, and we love that relationship. But a lot of it is artists just trying to get their name out there, or they got a certain piece they want to advertise for a show coming up, and that's part of their branding strategy is to associate their name with their art.
Sure.
And without that.
But we have been talking about wanting to get more of the auctions, and we did get one. And
makes sense.
A
lot of them are well capitalized. So.
Right. And then some of the more corporate, we would love to have like Wrangler or something like that advertise with us.
Yeah.
But
and you see a magazine like Cowboys and Indians they really seem to be able to tap into that for whatever reason. Right. Not sure exactly why, but they managed to do that.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle magazine.
It is
what they've done, and we're trying to add some of that when we can, and when it fits what we do.
Yes.
Kind of fits the Western art lifestyle.
Yes.
You go to these shows and everybody's wearing jeans and boots, and
not
everyone, but most of the time.
Not me, but
but a lot of them do.
But you've got the jewelry.
Yeah. No, that's who I am.
Right. So there's a place for that.
I would think. I mean, we do a little online magazine, and it's Essential West, and it is kind of a lifestyle of the West. Again, we don't need advertisers. We're not trying to do what you guys do. That's we're just trying to provide good content of interesting things. But it's I understand how difficult your business is. It's a tough one. I did a magazine called Canyon Road Arts for 6 years, and I understand on a small level what that's required. Just
and the printing is what really gets you. It's expensive, and through COVID it went up 40%.
Yeah.
Ink and paper went up 40% for about a year.
Yeah.
And it's hard to adjust to that.
Yeah. Is it still that high?
It's been coming back down.
Yeah, that's good.
Which is good. That's very, very helpful. I'd like to see a little lower back to where it started, but we're getting there.
When you bought your company.
Yeah. So we're getting back there, and we have a great printing partner, and they do a good job sourcing the paper for us.
Yes, and is that out of Minneapolis as well?
It's just across the border in Wisconsin.
Yeah,
just over across the St. Croix River.
Yes.
So close enough we can run over there if we need to, but they published with Tom and Alan for a lot of years.
Yes.
So very good relationship. They're a great partner.
And they're so careful too about the color and making sure that it's
your
right.
colors are good.
And they run a lot of I don't know,
Did,
prints or whatever they call it.
Right, different magazines, some that not all artwork, but
right.
But they'll call up and go, hey, you have a low res image in here. A lot of times we'll get low res and we place it in,
Right.
waiting for the high res, and
Right.
if that gets missed of switching it out,
Yes.
they've had a couple times where they,
I'm sure.
kind of gave us the, hey, do you really want to run it this way? We're like, no, we don't.
No.
Thank you. Yeah.
Especially artists are very, understandably, very particular about
Right.
those colors. I'm sure you get called, and galleries too. I
Yeah.
mean, you screw it up, and it's like,
Right.
Yeah.
because it looks bad on us as well.
Right.
The artist's going to call us. We're going
Right.
to call you.
Right.
You're going to call the printer.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we want it to be the best experience,
Yeah.
for either that advertiser or the person being featured. That
Yes.
it's a very positive experience, not only in the written word, but also their images.
And have you thought about doing an online type format as far as the magazine itself too?
We have a digital.
We have
It is.
Yeah,
It's all
digital.
digital, the whole thing.
The whole magazine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we came out with that 2 years ago.
Is
and
it a flip kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I just read the magazine.
Yeah,
Right,
right.
right.
You know,
I'm
it's
old school.
downloadable.
I
and,
like that too.
we've had some people out of the country that kind of like that. They don't have to wait so long to
Yes.
get their publication.
Right.
Other people will do the print and digital because they travel. So they'll still like paging through the magazine, but
I
when
do.
they travel, they can put it on the iPad and read
Yes,
the articles.
right.
So
Well, and there was even some that they can see. They have
Yes,
vision
yeah.
issues, so they can put it on their computer and blow it up and
Yes.
see
and
it
actually,
better.
actually read it because the print
Yeah.
gets kind of small for
No,
them.
that's right.
Yeah.
And then what about from a social media component? What is that part of your business now?
Well, that's been part of our plan is to grow that.
yes.
And with my son, who started last June with us, he's kind of taken that over.
Yes.
We were all doing bits and pieces of it, and it was our desire to kind of have a singular voice, so that all the posts in the different areas look similar and kind of have the same flavor.
Yes.
So he's kind of taken that on. He's the one scheduling all the posts.
Yeah. Such an important component of business.
It is.
Period.
It is. Yeah.
I don't care who you are.
And then one, he's got more time to just devote to it and make sure we're being thorough. And we still miss things sometimes, and it's hard because sometimes a lot's happening at once, and
Sure.
it gets lost in. But we're trying really hard.
Yeah.
I think he's doing a great job with it. I'm proud of what he's doing.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. My son is involved in that as well. So
Right.
it's good to get
Right.
young people.
They just get it.
Well,
They've
they
grown up
do.
with it, and they get it better
Right.
than I do.
Yes. And they also understand the importance of it.
Right.
So, and it is clearly a component of getting the word out there. Yes. So, anything else you'd like to share about the magazine or anything that's coming up? Or obviously, we'd like to get your website name and all that kind of stuff too. But anything you guys want to share we've missed or not talking about?
No, I mean, can you think?
No, other than we do love to hear from our readers or, anybody that has insight on a emerging artist. We love to hear that. Doesn't mean we will feature them or not right away, but we watch a lot of artists as they're kind of growing.
Right. I'm
And,
sure.
we always love to be the first one to feature a budding star coming out. So,
Yes.
but we'd love to hear from them if you know of somebody or somebody that's got a great studio. I don't know what a lot of our studios look like.
Right.
And we're always trying to fill that studio spot with
Right.
new and interesting and, kind of off the beaten path. They've done something different.
Yes.
Or-
You're going to get some phone calls.
I'm probably,
good.
There's a lot of artists that listen to this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
You
would
hear
love
them out
that.
there, boys? They want you to contact them because they
Yep.
want your studio, boys and girls.
Well, and the other thing is, we said off the beaten path. We oftentimes have a article towards the back of the magazine that most of the time is called Off the Beaten Path. Sometimes it's something different. We've had hitting their stride for some of these young artists that all of a sudden are just taking off. But those are other ideas that we like. Stories. One story we did that comes to mind right away was a friend of ours. Her daughter is living out in Aspen, and she's not a scratchboard artist. She's
woodblock.
woodblock artist. And she ended up, there was a kind of skis. What's the brand of skis?
Wagner skis. They're custom.
yeah.
Custom skis.
And they have an artist series. So her skis, she was asked to do that. So she has the designs for 4 of these custom skis. Well, that was kind of a fun article to put in the, just
Very
something
interesting.
different with art. So
And they probably have 6 or 8 artists that they've chosen for that, winter season to where you can pick and choose the kind of art you want on your skis. And,
Right.
you're not going to see a lot of them on the hill.
right.
They're not mass produced, but they're all custom to you.
Right.
Based on your height, weight, skiing ability, and then you pick the artwork you put on your skis.
Yes.
So that was just kind of an interesting story, but it's art related.
Who writes the stories for you? How does that go?
Well, Vicky, who's been with us for 36, 37 years, she's our editor.
Yes.
She'll write her column and oftentimes one of the features. And we have contract writers around the country that we've consistently used, so we know what the flavor is and that kind of fits style of the magazine. So those will get assigned out. And some of the smaller features, actually, my daughter Jenny, who's our creative director, has been writing some. She went to school for magazine journalism and English. So early on, before my son came on board to help with some of the ads and some of this, she was overwhelmed and didn't have the time to write. So now she's starting to write some of those things at the back of the book that are kind of off the beaten path.
Yeah, that's nice. So you really have a family affair.
We do. It's been fun. Even our daughter Elizabeth, our oldest daughter, she's also a preschool teacher, but she does our copy editing. So she comes back in and she's just got that eye. She reads fast and she just catches those little things.
That's critical. It's a real mom and pop's business.
So
too.
so Lisa's our our only employee. She's our sales director.
Yeah, she does a fabulous job.
She's our only person that's not family besides our contractors that are
So do you still get a buzz when you get the press pass when you go into the places like Swire or Indian Market and you get the little press?
It's fun. Yeah,
right. I always find that. I always like that.
Yes.
Yeah, we enjoy it, and just it's just trying everything. There's still shows we haven't been to.
Yeah.
That we need to, So
you're going to go to the Russell?
Lisa's going to go to that one.
Lisa's going to that one.
Yeah, okay.
I think we're
committed. How about the booth? You going to be there?
We'll be at Briscoe. We won't make the booth this year. We were there last year.
Yeah. No, I remember.
Yeah. But it's always trying to.
No, I get it.
We'd be gone every weekend.
Yeah, we probably are kind of anyway.
Yeah.
We are.
Certain times we are, yes.
Yeah. And we're eventually going to have to get to the point where we do some of these every other year. We just can't do it all.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And booth is probably one that we'll have to do every other year.
Yes. And do you provide like magazines for those events, I assume, that you give out?
Yep.
Yeah. And another thing we're starting to do, partly for us to help with our subscriptions, but also because we want to give back, is we're putting a counter card out where if they buy a subscription, we'll donate $5 of their thing back to the museum or back to a scholarship or whatever.
Yep.
So we're trying to do some of that too, to be part of that and support them in another way.
Yep. You have I think, a very fun, unique, but hard business. Magazines are hard. I mean, I don't have to tell you that. You've got 4 years.
We found that out.
Yes.
They are. What's the hardest part, would you say?
Making ends meet.
No, I would say. I mean, my guess would be getting advertisers.
Sure,
Yes.
sure. It is, and some advertisers have chosen just to do digital or not to advertise.
Right.
And that's
I get it.
That's their prerogative, and
yeah.
So we're constantly looking for new advertisers. And,
Yes.
Things that will fit, and
the building subsubscriptions is the other thing, I think.
we have an older population.
We do.
The collectors. We're always trying to get the younger generation coming in and subscribing, and finding the love of art.
Yep. A couple times a week we get a deceased subscriber. Please stop sending the magazine.
Right.
So and so is deceased. So that's another thing we really want to do is build our subscriptions. This year, right now, our big thing is building our subscriptions and building the social media and.
Yeah, I think that's especially social media, whatever you want to call it, YouTube or Facebook, Instagram. All those things are very necessary, obviously. But there's a place for print advertising. There's no doubt about it. It's not going away. The question is just, there's what? Would you say 4 magazines, 5 magazines in your field? Pretty much something like that.
Yeah, and most of the subscribers want the print when it comes to an art magazine.
But as far as competition, I can see though that we're different. I mean, when we first started, I'm like,
right.
There's Michael Clausen again.
Yeah.
We love him. We love him. But it's like, there he is again.
Yeah.
And I was like, and Western Art Collectors, they're doing this. Or, whatever, Western Art and Architecture, whatever. We thought, what? They do their thing. We do our thing. We're about telling the stories, and doing those longer, lengthy.
They are
things.
longer.
Yeah.
And and they're doing what they're doing really, really well. And we don't need to compete. We just need to keep doing what we do well.
Right. Your brand.
And the nice thing is, the other publications, we see them at all these same shows.
Mm-hmm.
And they're friends, and we all get along. That's the great part is, they're competition, but
No, it's like us and other dealers, right?
Right.
yeah, it's a friendly competition, and you just, we all get along and support each other, and that's the art industry has to.
Yeah, there's lanes for everybody.
Right.
Though I'm sure there are times you go, why won't that guy or person advertise with us? We have the same kind of, if not better, model for whatever that may be, and then and some of that just has to, I think, come down to loyalty or whatever that is, comfort, right?
Right.
And
and being the newbies, kind of, it's building that relationship. That's why we travel. That's why we stop in galleries and museums, and we're trying to build those relationships so they know who we are. Yeah. And when it comes time to advertise, we hope they think of us.
Yeah.
So
I think that's exactly what you should do. That's why you're here today.
Yeah. Oh, we're here to learn. when I emailed you and said, Mark, can we get together? We're like, we just want to learn.
No, I know.
Yeah.
No, it was me wanting you guys on. Because I thought it was important. I think it's important for people to know about your magazine and to know about one of the spokes of the wheel. That's important for our culture.
Thank you.
And just to figure out what that lane is and what you're trying to do. And I know you're committed because I see it. I mean, I see it when you're at every one of these shows, it's hard work. You don't have to. If you were just wanting to, do it as a secondary business, I could see it, but you're not. This is obviously your passion. You're committed to this and the artist, and that's why you're doing it. I get it. Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you taking the time.
And we're having fun.
Yeah, I know. I can tell.
It's busy, but it's fun.
No, I can tell that you do have fun. That's the kind of people who need to be and have to have a business like that. Right. Especially because it's it's a tough one. It's not easy. It's not going to, as you know, it's not going to get any easier.
Right.
No.
It's just going to continue to be challenging. Same for us. Same for all people in this, in this category, because it's a unique category. Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So,
anything else you want to share before we let you go?
No,
not that I can think of. But so thank you so much for giving us the time.
Yeah, Art of the West.
Thank you.
How do they subscribe?
You can either call us. There's an 800 number on our website. The website's www.aotw.com.
Okay.
So we try to make it as short as possible.
Okay.
And you can subscribe online as well.
Yes.
But, some people don't like that, and they can just call the 800 number, and we'll do it over the phone.
Right. Very good.
And it will be one of our employees answering.
Yeah. And, your paper is very beautiful, too. You do have it feels like it's a little heavier stock.
It's important to us to have that.
Right. Right.
It is noticeable.
Good.
They always said, Tom and Alan always used high-quality paper, and we continued that.
Yeah.
We could have cut costs
you could.
by making it thinner, but that's when you're talking about an art magazine, you want it to be as nice as it can be, and the pages aren't ripping when you flip it.
Well, and so many people have every single issue of our magazine. I mean, we have subscribers that will tell us that. They have every single issue, and they had, at some point they had books. They would do a year book, like bound book.
I get it.
Yeah. And
that's
and
something
so
right there.
so we need to have it be good quality. We want it to be around. I just have to tell one little story. I inherited a painting by an artist named Larry Riley from my parents, and I'm so happy that I have this painting. And it's and actually Larry's he called us, and he had stopped painting. He was doing more commission type things, not in galleries, not going to shows. He just kind of backed away for a while, but he called us, and he's coming back. And when I heard about that, I had just inherited this beautiful piece that I loved, and he's such a good artist. And we realized we had featured him in 1992, and we went back and got that magazine, and there's our piece of art in the magazine that we now own. And and we're excited because Larry's going to be in our magazine, the next one that we're working on.
Oh, that's nice.
So
full circle.
Yeah, but so fun to go back and look at that. So
all right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
and
thank you, Mark.
We will be looking forward to the next edition. When does it come out? Their next one
goes to print on April 3rd.
Yes, April 3rd it goes to print, so it'll be out mid-April.
All right.
And that'll be the May-June.
All right. Very good. Art of the West. Thank you
Yeah.
so
Thank
much,
you.
guys.
Yes,
All right.
thank you.